The Valorian transport ship Whisper of Stars had been dying for 3 solar cycles when it finally pierced Earth's atmosphere. Captain Threx hadn't chosen this blue-green world deliberately. The navigation systems had failed along with everything else, and gravity had simply claimed them. As the ship carved a burning trajectory across the night sky, Threx clutched the armrests of his command chair, knowing that his cargo of 12,000 refugees would either find salvation or graves on this unknown planet. They crashed in what humans called Montana, a sparsely populated region of vast grasslands. The impact carved a trench half a kilometer long, and when the dust settled, Threx emerged from the wreckage expecting hostility. The Valorians had fled the Krathian Empire after their homeworld was glassed, and every species they'd encountered since had turned them away. Resources were precious. Refugees were burdens. It was the way of the galaxy. But humans, Threx would learn, had never read that particular rulebook. Within hours, strange vehicles with flashing lights surrounded the crash site. Threx's translator implant struggled with the local language, English they called it, but the tone was unmistakable. Not aggression, concern. The beings that emerged wore bright yellow suits and carried strange equipment. They didn't aim weapons. They aimed cameras, medical scanners, and most bewildering bottles of water. "How many survivors?" a human asked, her voice crackling through the translator. She was small compared to Threx's 2-meter frame, but her eyes held no fear. 12,073, Threx replied cautiously. "We require nothing. We will repair our vessel and depart." The human, her name badge read Morrison, laughed. It wasn't mockery. "With what?" "That ship's scrap metal. You're not going anywhere soon." She turned to her colleagues. "Get FEMA on the line. And somebody call the governor. We're going to need every empty building in 3 counties. Threx didn't understand then. He would. Within 24 hours, a small town called Billings had mobilized. The high school gymnasium became a triage center. The community college dormitories, empty for summer, filled with Valorian families. Humans arrived with blankets, food, clothing, items they clearly couldn't spare easily yet gave freely. A farmer named Chen drove his truck loaded with vegetables directly to the crash site, refusing payment. "My grandparents were refugees," Chen explained through the translator, his weathered hands distributing crates of produce from Earth's wars. "Folks helped them. Now I help you." That's how it works. But it was when the bureaucracy arrived that Threx truly felt fear. Government officials in dark suits toured the site, clipboards in hand, expressions unreadable. Here it comes, Threx thought. The polite rejection, the stern deadline, the subtle threats wrapped in diplomatic language. He'd heard them all before. Instead, a woman named Secretary Okonkwo addressed the assembled Valorians through hastily assembled translation systems. "The President has declared this a humanitarian emergency. You will receive temporary protected status. We're establishing a resettlement task force. Housing, medical care, education for your children. We'll figure it out together." "You don't understand," Threx interrupted, his voice cracking. "We have nothing to offer in return. Our technology is destroyed. We have no resources, no trade agreements. We are simply burdens." Okonkwo's expression softened. "You're survivors." "That's enough." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "Humanity has a long, complicated history with refugees. We haven't always gotten it right. But we've learned something important. Civilization isn't measured by how you treat the powerful. It's measured by how you treat the powerless." Over the following months, Threx watched humanity do the impossible. Engineers reverse-engineered Valorian medical technology not to weaponize it, but to help heal the refugees' radiation sickness. Linguists worked 18-hour days creating comprehensive translation databases. Teachers adapted curricula to include Valorian children, while human children brought drawings and gifts, turning fear into friendship. But the galaxy hadn't forgotten the Valorians. When the Krathian Empire detected their energy signatures on Earth, a war fleet arrived in orbit, demanding the refugees' extradition. The Krathians were powerful, a Tier 3 civilization with weapons that could crack continents. Humanity was barely Tier 1. The Krathian commander's message was simple: surrender the Valorians, or your world burns. Earth's response came from an elderly human named General Park, a veteran of wars Threx couldn't pronounce. His transmission to the Krathian fleet was broadcast across all channels, translated into galactic standard. "This is Earth. Those people you're looking for? They're not refugees anymore. They're residents. They're our neighbors. Some have already applied for citizenship. Park's voice was steel wrapped in silk. You want them? You'll have to come through us. You would die for aliens you've known mere months? The Krathian commander asked, genuinely baffled. Park smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. We're humans. We die for people we've known mere minutes if they're standing beside us. It's kind of our thing. Now you have 10 seconds to leave our solar system before we introduce you to some friends of ours. The bluff was audacious. Earth had few weapons that could threaten a Krathian dreadnought. But what the Krathians didn't know, what their intelligence had failed to grasp, was that humanity had spent those months not just helping refugees, but also messaging every species within 50 light-years. The message was simple. Earth stands for asylum. Will you stand with Earth? 17 species answered. Their fleets dropped out of FTL around Earth's moon, some advanced, some primitive, but all present. The message was clear. Humanity had earned allies not through conquest or trade, but through compassion. The mathematical calculus changed. The Krathians withdrew, their commander transmitting a final message. You are fools. General Park's response would become legendary across the galaxy. Maybe, but we're fools who keep our promises. Years later, Threx stood in a building humans called the United Nations, addressing the Galactic Council's first session on Earth. The Valorians had rebuilt, integrated, thrived. Their children spoke English and Valorian with equal fluency. Their scientists worked alongside human researchers. Their artists had begun a cultural renaissance. Humanity is not the strongest species, Threx told the assembled delegates, nor the oldest nor the wisest, but they possess something rarer than any technology. They possess moral courage married to stubborn compassion. We landed here by mistake. They refused to let us go not because they wanted something from us, but because releasing us would have violated something fundamental in their nature. He paused, his voice thick with emotion. We came as refugees. They made us family. And that, honored delegates, is why Earth deserves its seat among you. The vote was unanimous. Outside the UN building, a human child and a Valorian child played in the plaza, their laughter identical despite their different biologies. Above them, ships from 100 worlds hung in orbit. A guard of honor, a promise of protection. Humanity had shown the galaxy something it had forgotten, that civilization's greatest strength wasn't measured in weapons or wealth, but in the simple, radical act of refusing to abandon those with nowhere else to go.